Yes, sir.
We at it again.
Another opportunity to conversate, another opportunity to improve, another opportunity to be better men. I want to talk about balance today.
Okay, let's get it.
Balancing life, balancing work, balancing relationships, balancing business. I think life's about balance, but when do we really ever have balance?
Whew. Balance in what context? Where are we at? What chapter are we on?
We on probably still development, maybe even a little bit of business.
Okay, balance is especially when you're starting, it should not exist. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you'll have a lot of people come in any job or any business, or you hear this a lot, especially in sales, or even we talk about real estate, and luckily we have some friends that are very successful in the real estate world. You have people that are very successful in business and in sales or whatever the case is. But I hear this a lot where people talk about where I started my own business and now I get to show up when I want, leave when I want. I can create my own schedule, that type of deal. And I feel like a lot of people start business or working for themselves because they have this idea or notion of this free time that they have, this freedom with time that they have. But in the very beginning, you'll come to realize that balance will not exist. And if you try to balance your time or efforts, you're going to lose. And I know that every time, because especially when I started, I was starting with a lot of people who were new, just like I was. And when they talked about, well, I have this night to go do this or whatever the case is, I got to call it early here. Because again, they're not clocking in or clocking out. They have the freedom to not show up or to not produce. But you'll lose. You have to stop worrying so much about balancing your free time or whatever the case is, because in the very beginning, it does not exist. And you have to buy into that fact. And if you don't, you end up losing to the person who is hyper-focused, who has no distraction, no worry about, well, I have this night to enjoy myself and this weekend to relax and whatever the case is. And if you're starting business with the idea of prioritizing balance, you failed. Maybe that's harsh, but the reality is you will lose to the person who's giving everything that they got, right? And then we just heard it. We talked about people like Bezos and whoever the case is, where they're giving everything they got. If you look at stories about Elon Musk and how he started, it's the same thing, right? Stories about Furcella and whoever the case is, where they're working constantly, basically living out of their office, right? And I tell you the stories about how I started, where I put in 16-hour days, 18-hour days, and the only thing I would do is go home to sleep and shower and come back, right? And in the very beginning, you hear man, enjoy yourself, or take these times off. And there's this outside factor of people trying to drag you into, come on, relax a little bit. Come on, relax. Let's go have fun, or whatever the case is. And if you're not prioritizing your business or your goal first, that balance is never going to come. You're going to live the rest of your life conflicted between, do I have to work or do I have fun? And if I have fun, I have to work twice as hard because I don't have the money to pay for it when I come back, whatever the case is. That balance comes when you give everything you got. You earn that balance, right? The notion of I started my business and now I CEO, I don't think people even understand what that word even means, right? They come into this they come in high and mighty of this is my company, when they have nothing to show for. It's just an entity that they created. And now it's, well, I get to leave when I want, and that's what I love, working for myself. Well, you're missing all the treats of working for yourself. You're missing every part of it because you want that instant gratification of, well, nobody's telling me what to do. I can leave or not show up or whatever the case is. And that's the problem, right? If you bought into, hey, for the next X amount of years, this is all I got, this is all I'm going to do, fuck anything else, you'll see progress. And then on the other side, you'll see the people who start with this, they want to look cool, right? Business now, it's cool. That's why you see everybody starting their own, whatever the case is, and good for them. But if you're coming into the world of business thinking, well, I can relax and I have my own free time or whatever the case is, in the very beginning, you'll come to realize that's not true. You will create that balance, right? And that's through you producing. That's through you getting results. That buys your balance. And you have to stop prioritizing this. I dealt with this all the time. People would tell me like, hey, you got to prioritize mental health, prioritize your health, or whatever the case is. And even during the hardest times or the real true, like the hard grinds of the company, physically I was still going at it. I was still hitting the gym. I was still running. I was doing everything. But people are like, hey, mental health, you got to, ease back a little bit. I'm still healthy, right? But it's the decisions that I made early on of forget balance. It's the same reason why if we talk about it, like I've lost relationships over it. And I could have said, well, I have to prioritize my relationship. And at that time, it wasn't like I was married. It was just a girlfriend, right? And you'll see that. You'll see, again, this isn't me saying break up with your partners. What I'm getting at is it was more important to me that I finished what I started and I got a result from it, and I prioritized the company. Maybe that's not I was just at that season in my life where that's all that mattered to me, right? And so I gave everything I got. I didn't try to balance other things in my life. I wasn't trying to balance another company, multiple companies. I was just one thing. I wasn't trying to balance a relationship. I wasn't trying to balance nothing. I didn't care about anything else but my business. And because I gave everything I got, I earned my balance. Now it's like we can take days off. And even when I can take days off, I choose not to. I still choose to come here because I know now as you progress in life, you're not competing with the people who aren't really competitors at that point. They're just distractions. Now you're coming to the point where you're competing with actual people who have 10 years plus in the business. And if I'm slacking off, I'm going to lose. Right? And that's how I see it now is I'll have that balance. And again, like I'm fortunate enough to be able to take the day that I want, or if something happens, like I can do all that, but I'm still choosing to give everything I got in this.
And it's tough. I mean, day in and day out, waking up 4 or 5 a.m., leaving the office 8, 9 p.m. every day, consistently. It's not an easy thing, and I'm sure people, whoever you have at home is thinking about you. But
yeah, and this is my thing, though, right? I'm sorry to cut you off, but like when you talk about 8, 9 p.m., that I've eased off, and I feel guilty about it. I feel guilty about easing off, leaving at 8, 9 p.m.
Wow.
Do you get me? Like, there were points in my life where I would do the same thing. I would leave the house before 5, get everything in, right? And 11, 12 o'clock, midnight comes around, and I would look out my window, and if there was a car outside, I wouldn't leave. I wouldn't leave because I knew somebody was still here working, so what the hell am I doing? Right? Like, to the average person hearing this, you're talking about waking up at 4, leaving at 8, 9 o'clock. It's a long work day, but I pushed it even further than that, right? Where if I needed a nap, I would take a 20-minute nap and I would get right back to it. I wouldn't leave because I could. Nobody was forcing me to stay. I wasn't getting paid hourly, so it wasn't like I was obligated to be there. But it was the idea of I can create my balance later. I didn't prioritize balance at that point, and it's completely wrong for you to start a business thinking or prioritizing balance. That's like a feel-good way of thinking. Like, okay, well, healthy work balance or work-life balance, that does not exist when you start a company or when you start any business. I can almost argue that's not, like, it won't be successful if that's your first company. Maybe the seasoned guys who can, but even then, the seasoned guys, the really super successful guys, they start another company, they give everything they got. They're not, even if they have all the tools, the money, the knowledge to create, they can work less theoretically and still make it grow. They're giving everything they got, right? If you look at Elon with PayPal and then moving into the Tesla and then all the solar. Now he's flying to Mars and shit. Like all that, you have to think about it like this. Like he and I share the same amount of time every day. For the both of us, 24 hours a day passes. He doesn't have an extra minute on me, but he's giving everything he got. So where's the balance there? But people want to like idolize him, and he worked hard, right? I'm not saying, maybe idolize is the wrong word, but you look up to him like, holy crap, he's done so much. Well, because there was no balance, none of it.
The best things in life were created by tired people, correct?
Yeah, that's I can't remember who said that, but it's a true like, that's what it makes me happy to see. Like every day at the gym, you'll see like a couple Paxton hoodies all over the place.
Yeah, we in there.
Yeah, and it does make me happy because obviously we're not an apparel company, but just seeing like, hey, we made that, and just remembering that quote. I was exhausted. Like I just showed you before this conversation, I just showed you videos of when you have guys sleeping with helicopters flying around. I was exhausted. There was no balance. If I had balance, I would be fully recovered every day. I would get my 8 hours of sleep or whatever the case is, and then restart because it's balance, right? But I think if you can thrive off of this feeling of I can do more with less, I could do more with less sleep, with less this, less anything, I can do more. That's kind of where I got my not momentum, but that's kind of what made me feel like, okay, I could keep pushing. Screw balance. And it made me feel good. It made me feel good knowing, well, other people are prioritizing, well, let's go to happy hour or let's do this. Let's work.
There was a saying where people mention or talk about balance or finding balance as an excuse. It's almost like an scapegoat. I heard Frisella talking about how people who mention balance are saying these things because they themselves want to stop pushing. It's almost like an scapegoat for yourself when you tell yourself, like, I need to go find balance. Because the reality is, you could keep going.
Yes.
Right? Maybe take a break in between or whatever. Hydrate. Make sure you're hydrated. But the human body is meant to go as far as you're willing to push it. You know? And, yeah, like, even for example, your example, I would love to see, or you maybe talk about what your day-to-day looks like. Maybe people don't understand what, you know, the logistics of this is, you know. Can you maybe iterate on that?
I want to touch up on something you said about people using it as an excuse, right? Balance as an excuse. I believe it. That what I'm getting at is, like, there's a difference between excuses and exceptions. And if I think about the way I used to be, I was very one-sided. Like, everything you say is an excuse. And any time any words came out of somebody's mouth that was in some way, shape, or form quitting, I'd be like, okay, well, that's an excuse. I've come to realize there are exceptions. There are few exceptions in this. It's not always black and white, right? And so there's that point where there are some times where you need to take some time because you hurt yourself, or a family member passes, or whatever the case is, right? But with that said, most people's idea or their view of this is an exception is a complete excuse. When you actually listen to what they're saying, they think that this excuse that they're making is the exception of, well, I can't do it because I had this happen to me, so here's the exception. But most of the times, those exceptions are all excuses too, right? So they blur that line of what the excuse is and what an actual exception is, right? Like, okay, you couldn't run tomorrow because you broke your leg. What am I? You get me? Like that. There's your exception. But then you also have guys who are like, okay, well, I broke my leg. I'm gonna go lift weights instead, or hit upper body, or whatever. So there's always something you can do. And I'm not saying that that's the case, but most people are like, well, I cut my shin, on the side of my bed, so I can't. And I'm using like petty examples, but that's what I'm getting at. They're thinking that it's the exception of why they can't do something, but it's actually really just excuses.
I think it's a validation. It's a self-validation.
It's a validation that only sounds good to them.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right? There's a good quote. They say excuses sound best to the person who makes them. And so when you think about the excuses people make, and it's the same thing when you're like, I cut myself. I'm like, we joke around about it, but that's the reality. Is any excuse that you've ever made, whether it's to not show up to something or to not do something or whatever, and you make up all these points in your head as to why you can't do them, if you actually listen to what you're saying, it only sounds good to you. And I think about it, like think about what a teacher feels like when they talk about, hey, I couldn't do my homework because this happened. You know, the whole thing of like my dog ate my homework or all that crazy stuff. It's like it only sounded good to you. And you're trying to project that because you believe you have validated all these points as to why you think that's an actual excuse. And then when you receive the message, so when I hear it, it's like, you're full of shit. Right?
For insight, bro. For insight. For the people listening, what does your day consist of? What does your day look like usually on a day-to-day?
So you're there every day now. So it's you'll see it. So we wake up, we hit the gym, we run, we hit the gym. I get here right around. I try to get here before 8.
So what time are we in the gym? Just so they know.
It's like give or take 5, 6. We pump it up. Now it's getting harder and harder. If you don't know, we just started 75 hard, so it's gonna get more and more aggressive as we do it. But we try to get it all out of the way. So I try to get in here by or before 8. Okay. And again, we want to talk about balance. I don't need to be here at 8. Like I don't, but I that's like how I set it up, where I know no matter what, I want to stick to this routine. So I sit here at 8, and from probably like 8 to 10, I'm going over whatever numbers I need to, or crunching whatever things I need to move around. And then from there, we're either planning or going over. We have meetings. It depends, because every day, like I have meetings set up at different times of the day, and so you notice it, but it's the same thing every day. Like if you've been here, you've been with me for the last couple weeks now, and I think you've come to see my days don't really change. Sure, I take meetings, but it's either over the phone, and very rarely am I meeting somebody outside this place, right? It's all over the phone, and I'm just getting my reps in. It's the same thing as, well, we have 3 sets of 15. These are my reps. This is the rep that I'm doing day after day to make sure that there's some progress, right? And we'll end up filming something like this, or having conversation, or going over some game plan. We always plan, and then it ends up happening where like it's already 3. It's already 3, right? And so you'll see that after this passes, there's always more to do. So I'll either go, like, I switch gears here and there, but this is it. My day is here.
One thing I've noticed is you tend to be hyper focused on the things you're attacking. Like, let's say the mission or the objective right now is to create content, or the objection is to set the meeting for the guys.
Right.
I see a mental switching you that turns on and off, where you will attack these tasks and you'll go hard at them, and then it'll be moments where I notice you don't even drink water, you don't even eat, you don't even, it almost looks like you don't even blink. And then you'll snap out of it, recuperate a little, and then you dive into a different task. Yeah,
so I learned this in 2021, so a couple years back. Especially when you're starting a company, right? This was 2 years as the company was running, or 3 years, give or take. And I caught myself wearing every hat. Like, I was the salesperson, I was the customer service, I was the owner, I was everything, right? And then it ended up being that there was so much crap I had to do. And you know, you hear like, I'm really good at this is when I learned multitasking is bullshit. Okay, and you'll hear people like, I'm really good at multitasking. That means you're distracted, right? And I used to I bought all these like things on social, like you see those ads and you're like, okay, well, if you're have a lot to do, but this is the planner for you. And I would brain fart everything. And then what I ended up doing was seeing what I had to do and then prioritizing what made sense. What I used to do was like, okay, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes and then I'll go here and then I'll switch gears and I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this, right? And I got nothing done. So I want you to think about it like this. You have 5 tasks. You have 5 tasks that you have to get done by the end of X period. What makes more sense? Taking away 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, 10%, or doing it finished? I finished this, I finished this, I finished this, I finished this. And what I've come to realize is that's why I say multitasking is not real. Whether you can claim it, I don't care. It's not effective, right? And so when you can focus on one thing, get that done, you have 4 tasks left. Focus on that, get it done. Now you only have 3. I used to feel like getting chunks of it done at a time, like little bits of it done at the time. At the end of the day, I'd still look at it and be like, damn, I still have all of this to do. Right?
Yeah.
And so, again, you want to talk about balance. The balance would be, okay, well, let's get a little bit done at the same, or throughout the day. The focus is get one done. Let's go to the next one. And so what I learned to do is prioritize based off of urgency. How urgent is this that I get it done? And how important is it? Right? And so when I started operating like that, I started getting more done. It's the same thing as, well, I spent 3 hours at the gym. What are you doing for 3 hours? I don't know how you could spend 3 hours at the gym unless you're bullshitting. Like, when we're done, we're pretty much toast, right?
Fried.
And we work out for about an hour. So
at the most.
Exactly. So that my thing is, let's be effective. Let's be effective, and that's through just pure focus, no distractions, no multitasking. You get me? Like,
we don't even talk.
We really don't. Honestly, like, I haven't even thought about that. But it's more so like, hey, like, focus here. Or you'll say, you'll tell me what to do or whatever the case is. But that's it.
Like, I've noticed from you, right, that like I'll ask, or I wouldn't even ask. I just try to pay attention because I try to keep up to your pace at times. Mm. And there'll be moments where, like, all right, well, how many sets? And you'll just wave your hand like 3. Yeah. And you'll put 3 fingers up. All right, let's get to it then. Because I can tell that you just get into this zone that really nothing else matters in that moment, And people swing by and give you a high five and try to talk to you, but you just dap them up and keep it going.
That's what I meant. Like, that's what I meant about, like, my attitude. Like, I don't think I'm being mean there. And again, I do it with a smile. Like, I do it with, like, a very embracing, like, hey, how nice to see you, or whatever the case is. And if I need to hold the conversation, it'll be a quick conversation, right? But for me, it's, if you're there, make it count. Why? The reason why I'm saying that is because I spent a lot of my time just showing up. And I realized that you hear this thing of, like, showing up is half the battle. You've heard that, right? Showing up is half the battle. Showing up is fucking effortless. And for you to buy into this notion of, well, you showed up, good job, pat yourself on the back, is crazy to me. and then you expect, you're, like, confused as to why you have no results, because you think showing up is the bare minimum, right? And when you show up, you can either make it count, or you just wasted time. And this is what I came to realize, especially when I started in this industry. You would have guys who would show up, try to learn, and then actually implement it and see results. Or the guys that show up, they're not paying attention, they're not doing anything, and then you'll come to realize the same amount of time passes, and they're still way behind, and the other ones progressed, and then they're sitting here saying, well, what the hell am I doing wrong? I'm showing up. Showing up is like, if you pat yourself on the back because you showed up, it's time to, like, let's take the next step. Okay, I don't want to sit here call you a loser or anything, but at the end of the day, like, are you really that proud that you showed up somewhere? Right? And this is the way that I see it at the gym, and it's what I said to you before. Like, I don't, people come up and I give them a fist bump or I say hi, how are you, and that's it. And if I've even told you before, when they come up and ask me questions of, are you using this, are you using that, I just give them a little brush with my hands, or I'll say, like, I'll give them a thumbs up saying you're good. But it's because I don't want to be. There are times, again, like you said, like the other day, you're like, I was so tired, like today hurt. Well, yeah, today hurts. Today it hurts a lot. Right? It's not just today. Like, tomorrow's gonna hurt. I know it, but like, because I know it, I'm ready for it. Right? But yes, there are times where I don't want to be there, and the last thing I want to do is get more distracted and feel like we finished, the hour passes, and I realize, well, I didn't do shit. Right? And how many times have you guys felt this, where you go to work? Let's talk business, right? You show up for this today, and you don't feel like being there, and you realize the day passes, you go home, and you're like, well, shit, I did nothing. I don't want to feel that. And I felt that way too many times, and I felt disgusted with myself, where I would showing up is half the battle. I would show up and expect results because I showed up. Yes, you can compare it to the person who doesn't show up at all. Sure, you're ahead of them. But if you're already there, let's make create
something
results
out of it. Yeah. For the most part, I'm in the gym, right, noticing a lot of tendencies, because sometimes we do see this reoccurring people. Sometimes we see those consistent people, but they look the same.
Yeah.
They look the same. Conversations are just long, I guess, with one another, and there isn't much action being taken.
Right.
And I don't know, some part of me just like kind of it's exciting. It's an exciting feeling when you're giving your all, and there's people next to you that are consistent just like you, but you just lapped them.
Yeah. So I had this conversation recently with my brother, where we know this person that has gone to the gym. Since we're on the topic of gyms, right? I know this person who would go to the gym very consistently, almost every single day, at least from what I see posted, right? Again, social media is so whatever. But I would see him posting, like, he's at the gym. Mind you, like, almost a decade has passed. Okay, and even within that macro time frame, even in the micro time frames of month to month or year to year, nothing's changed. Nothing has changed. And I count myself, I'm like, am I talking shit, or is this something that can be changed? Because in my head, I'm like, dude, you spent just as much time as I did at the gym, but you look like you get what I'm saying? Like, again, great job, you're going to the gym, but my point, to basically back up my point, is if you're there dragging ass and just showing up to the gym to show up, to waste time because it's what makes you feel good, sure, go ahead. But like, I know the type of lifting that people do where it's to see improvement. Like, you're telling me right now, like, you're a big runner, but I know every time you work out, you're looking for some level of development in your body, right? So how do you spend that much time and not have any development? Well, it's because you probably just bullshit. You took it for the gram, and you were like, okay, right? People are walking, and then for the Instagram video, they start running. I'm tired. As soon as it stops, like, okay, back to my walk. Like, it's shit like that. And this is what it comes down to. If you're doing things for recognition, or like shit like that, you're not gonna, like, you're probably in the wrong line of work. Okay, but if you do it because you actually give a shit, you might actually see those results, right? And again, it comes down to everything we were just talking about, and then some. But I don't want to be that person, and the reason why I'm saying that is because I was that person that would show up, get things done. Like, okay, I showed up, I checked off my to-do list. Okay, well, if you're already there, let's put in the work and then see what happens from that point. And that's just the way I took it. And I guess that's the way I am now, because I felt that for too long. And that was the point in my life where I was like, this is not what I want anymore. I'm not talking about just the gym. I'm talking about when I used to be a bartender, okay? And I would show up for work, and if it was a slow day, they would start sending people home, right?
Yeah.
I would be the first one to be like, can I leave? Can I go home?
Mm-hmm.
I know you want to stay because you want to make money. Like, let me go home.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be the closer. Like, I was supposed to be the one that closed the restaurant. And I'd be like, let me go home. You can stay. And I would go home to do nothing. And I did that for years. As a server, I did it. And I just remember thinking, like, I wasted so much time. Yeah, I showed up, but I got nothing to show for it. This is why I'm so, like, adamant or passionate about this topic, is because I was that person. I showed up. Cool. I deserve a reward. Perfect attendance. I got it. Right? That's like having perfect attendance with the lowest grade possible.
Yeah.
Like that. That's what I'm getting at.
All right. With that in mind, for those that are watching, young teenagers, young adults, even grown, people, what would be a recommendation that you'd give them? I know we can't find balance or that idea of, but I think honestly, even in all the chaos that we go through on a day-to-day basis, it feels like it's balanced. In a weird way, it feels almost balanced, like we're now knocking down goals.
Yeah.
It's a tough day, it's long days, but what would you tell these people? Like, what would you recommend to them for their days, or how to structure
in terms
life?
of somebody who's wanting to make progress? Like, the reason when you ask that, it varies per person. Every individual is different. Every person has different goals or aspirations, and so what I want, you may not want. So if I am this way, and I'm speaking to somebody who's happy with, hey, I'm good just living like this, great. You don't need to take my advice, right? Because I don't think my advice will even it's just going to collide with your views anyway, right? But if you're in the position of trying to grow, whether that's at the gym, financially, however it is you're trying to grow, there's no balance at all. If you talk about the greatest bodybuild, like we talk about the gym right now, right? If you even look at like Arnold or Cutler or even Sebum, you're gonna sit there and tell me that he balanced his diets? Like, okay, I don't know much about Sebum, but I do know he's, what is he, the
seven,
right?
7-time
Olympian, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, when you look at it, you realize like there were points where I'm sure he wanted to eat a slice of cake or something, and then the balance would be, well, you worked really hard so that one bite won't hurt. I'm sure he was like, nah, can't touch it, right? And I'm talking about this is something we can all relate on, right? And then it's the same thing with business. What are you doing it for? Whether you own a company or you're an entrepreneur working for yourself, what are you doing it for? And if you can be a business owner, again, living paycheck to paycheck, and I've seen it. You can own a company, right? And if it's not run properly and you don't manage your shit properly, you can live paycheck to paycheck. This is especially common with the entrepreneurs, right? The ones that work for themselves. Well, if the goal was for you to get some level of financial freedom, then you have to understand that you can't. The balance would be, well, I worked X amount of days, so I can spend X amount. Like, you have those people like that, but ultimately, what I'm getting at is, I think what most people do it for. Again, this is my opinion and how I started, and based off a lot of the conversations that I've had with other people asking me, you start this chaos of a journey because you're looking for freedom. Okay? And the book behind you, Discipline is Freedom. Right? The discipline behind it is what's going to buy you that freedom. People always talk about financial freedom. But what's more important, honestly, is I think the time freedom. Right? But both of them, like, they coexist. You have to have one for the other. Right? And what I mean by that is to live the life you're looking for. Sure, you can have freedom with time because you got no job. That sucks. I got all day, buddy.
Yeah.
Right? And you know people like that. I know people like that.
Yeah.
But what you're looking for is the freedom, that financial freedom, to also have that time freedom, because then you can do whatever the hell it is you want. And I can almost guarantee, like I say this, if I had all the money in the world, that retiring part, I don't know if I want to retire. Like, and I feel like this even in vacations. Like, it's too long now. I want to go home. I like, how long can you sip margaritas or beers on the beach for? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, no matter what, I feel like, again, you can hold me to this, but I think I don't think that retirement is going to be a thing for me. I think I'm always going to be trying to do something and building something or whatever it is, because I don't want to sit. Like, yes, the beer on the beach is nice, but have you ever thought about it? Like, imagine doing that every single day.
Yeah, that could be crazy.
What the hell? Like, I'd be like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, fuck balance. When you're starting, you have to, like, if I think everyone treated or had this mentality, you earn everything. And we go as far as to say earn your sleep. Right? Most people don't have that viewpoint of earning sleep. Most people think sleep is given.
Describe that. What is earning your sleep?
Earning sleep, the way that I explained, the way that when I say it, this is what I mean. Is sleep something that you know you're going to get later today?
100%.
Okay. Why not earn it? And this is what I mean by that is like extreme ownership of let's earn everything. I want to earn everything that I have. And again, most people, you know, they would much rather be handed stuff in today's world. Right? Well, I got it for free, or I got this, or whatever the case is. But it's more rewarding when you know you earned it. Those are the times where you're like borderline tears of like, damn, I did it. And you can like enjoy those emotions of like what hard work feels like, or what that other side, you know, like what you get from it. And so earning your sleep to me is basically, you know, sleep's going to come, but why not put in the work so you deserve that, so you earn that sleep? It's like a weird, not a weird way of thinking, but it's a shift in mentality where you realize, well, let's say you have every meal given to you. So earn your meal then. Put in the work to eat. And I think if you had that attitude, this is maybe an extreme way of thinking, but it's what worked for me. If you have that attitude of everything that I'm going to get, I have to earn it. Holy crap, what couldn't you get now? And that's what I mean. Most people know, well, okay, well, it's 12 o'clock, time to sleep, or whatever the case is, 9 o'clock, or whenever it is you sleep. My thing is like, well, you didn't do shit to deserve sleep, so why not go do something? And that accountability allows you to grow.
It's like a self-fulfilling thing when you lay in bed and you're like, damn, I gave it my all today.
Yeah.
Damn, I really pushed it today. And you lay in that bed and you're just tired and your body feels
like
at rest.
This is the way I see it, right? Like, have you ever done nothing all day and you went to bed?
I have.
Right. How do you feel?
Probably not tired, maybe, of the idea.
There are a lot of times, especially when I was younger, like this is when I do it. Like now,
same.
right?
Mm-hmm, same.
But, you know, you would stay in bed, you would maybe go down, you know, go to eat, and then do whatever it is kids do. I mean, for me, I don't know, maybe play games or whatever, and then go back into bed and stay in bed all day. And it's like, well, it's already 12 o'clock. I need to sleep. And as I got older, I'm like, holy crap, this is terrible. Because you know you shouldn't be doing that anyway. Right? And it's just like, I wasn't taught that wasn't okay or not. Like, nobody around me was like, you can't stay in bed all, like, maybe I was told that, but it was more so like, I knew internally that was wrong. And for me to go back to sleep again it just felt like wasted day. And the point of that is to just make sure, like, to earn your sleep, earn your meal, earn your whatever it is. It comes down to one, accountability, but it allows you to not waste your day.
That's the point right there. Mm-hmm. You attack every day.
Yeah, it allows you to not waste your day when you know, because at the end of the day, what I know is that you'll never regret giving everything you have, right? And I know even if it didn't work out, you wouldn't regret that. But I do know that you will regret not trying your best, and then you'll look back and be like, I should have tried harder. I should have done this better, or I could have done more here. Those are the regrets. But in my personal life, I've never regretted anything where I gave everything I had. Right? And again, that's what that mentality is. Earn your sleep, earn your food, earn your meals, earn everything in your life. And that's important, especially in the time where we're in right now, where everyone feels like they're entitled to whatever it is. And that's how you stand out.
Yeah. It's also holding yourself accountable. Your standards, where do your standards lie? Where do you lie on the commitments that you made to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
When we go in bed, you know, as of late, I say my prayers. I think about my day. If I have my notebook next to me, I'll write in my notebook. If I haven't read, I'll read and then sleep. But that all goes down to the idea of still earning your sleep. And then when you sleep, it feels almost much better, you know. For me personally, as of late, my sleep has been getting a little better. Although I have less sleeping time now.
Yeah.
I probably sleep 4 or 5 hours at most. But they're hidden,
right?
You know. But I know I seized the day in that moment. You know,
it's like this. It's anything. Like, I remember talking. Like, Daniel tells you the story about his boot camp experience, and I tell you my stories where when you work hard, food tastes better. Like, to this day, I still remember that apple, and I ate that apple in its entirety. It's how hungry I was. And again, I want you to picture this. Like, when most people eat an apple, they'll eat it to the core and they'll throw out the middle, right? I was so hungry, I ate the whole apple. I would drop food in the dirt and I would eat that food, and it still tasted good, right? So I think this is a great story, or a great way of thinking, where most of you have been really hungry at one point in time, and I'm talking about physically. You were hungry, like you were starving. Did that food not hit? Whatever it is you ate, right? Think about that with success now. You're deprived. You want whatever it is you're trying to strive for, and you get it. Imagine what that fucking feels like.
Wow.
You get what I'm saying? And I always say this: people, they underestimate the amount of work. They think people know now. They're like, okay, well, whatever I'm doing, it's going to be hard, right? You enter whatever business or whatever line of work, and you're like, it's going to be hard, but the result's going to be so great, right? It's going to be 10,000 times harder, but it's going to feel 1,000,000 times better than you're thinking. And again, I want you to think about when you were starving, what that food tasted like when you got it. When you were thirsty, how great that water tastes. It's that, like, if I can relate what winning kind of feels like, I want you to think about the food that you've had or whatever. And I say food because this is something everyone can relate to. I was so hungry, and we talk about it like, dude, that pizza slapped, or, you know, that chicken was so good, or whatever the case is. And it's the same thing. You earned that food, or you earned that victory, and it just feels that much better. And then you'll come to realize why it's so addicting to try and chase it again and again. That's what it is.
Man, it's like the circle of life with this stuff, bro. It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah.
Never-ending cycle.
It is. It's a constant pursuit. It's a constant pursuit of, okay, well, here's the next milestone. Here's the next milestone.
Like you said, it's threading the needle because the needle's constantly moving. Yeah. You know, it's
pushing the needle forward. That's what it is. It's always pushing the needle forward. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to get from wherever you are to here, to here, to here, and then you'll realize by the time you get here, there's another stage you haven't even unlocked.
Yeah.
And it's that.
and you're always unlocking new levels of yourself. It's like Pokemon when they evolve, you know.
Yeah, pretty much. Except there is like, you never know when you're done.
Yeah.
Right. And again, you're done when you quit, or you. That's kind of what it is. It's like, okay, well, that's what you've reached. So imagine if you just kept pushing.
Wow.
Right. That's what it is. Like, you know, I want to talk about running because you've been like a big runner, right? There's not that long ago, people were talking about how it was impossible to break a 4 mile or a 4 minute mile, and they broke it. And I'm sure it was the same thing with marathon running, or the same thing with it's impossible to run 100 miles in a day, or impossible to run 150 miles or whatever, you know, the ultra marathons and the super high stuff like that. People are doing it. People broke the 4 minute mile. People broke the records for marathons over and over. It's because whoever it was just kept pushing it. And that's what your life could look like in any facet. It doesn't have to relate to running.
But that's life for real.
Yeah.
That's life. Anything else you'd like to add on to this, brother?
If you're starting business or working for yourself, because again, I think the majority of people's goals when they start is that freedom that we talk about. Don't ever think about balance. At least for the time being when you're growing, there is no balance. And you're going to talk about it. You're going to hear people, especially who haven't done anything, that are going to tell you, dude, just relax. It may come from your parents, because that was my mom. My mom would always tell me, like, just chill out. You work so hard, just relax. And she says that because it's coming from like the form of love, right? She doesn't want to see me. But in my head, I'm like, dude, you don't know what I'm trying to do right now, right? And it's the same thing whether it's your friends trying to drag you down, whatever the case is, it's irrelevant. Forget about balance. Just give everything you got. Even if you don't think you have any left in the tank, you got some. Right? And just continue to push. If you continue to push, you will see some reward. It may not be what you're looking for, but it's going to be just enough for you to keep going. And then as you continue to stack that, you'll start to realize, well, now you've earned some balance. Now you can take the time off or take longer trips or whatever it is. And that's how I felt like in anything. Maybe your first family vacation's a day trip because you can't afford to take the next day off, or your parents couldn't afford to take the next day off. But if you worked for it and you work for it, and then you start to create, okay, well, now I can go for 2 days. I can go for a week. You're earning that balance there. But what most people do is they stop midway, and then they're like they're going back and forth between I got to grind it out and balance, grind it out and balance. And what I'm saying is give everything you got and earn that balance. And then when you get to that point, you'll come to realize, well, it's not that great like I still want to be here. And you'll be surprised where you end up in 5 years, 10 years. Because if I think about the trajectory of my life, I didn't think that. I think that this was a work in progress since 2016, 17. I always say I changed my life in 2017. And 2017 was the point in time where I decided, like, this is not a life I want ever. I'm embarrassed. It sucks. It's crappy. It's dirty. Like, right? And 2017, it's 2015 now. And what is that? 8 years? Right? It's 8 years. It took me 8 years. And again, you're like to other people, it's going to be like, well, you're just starting. And I understand I'm at a different chapter. I'm at a different point in some other people's life which is why I have the mentors to look at, because they're on chapter 30 when I'm on chapter 8.
They're on X Games mode.
Right? But what I'm trying to do is give you advice. If you can take it for what it is, whether you want to listen to it or not, it's irrelevant. Right? But if you want to take it, and you're on chapter 1 and I'm on chapter 8, I'm trying to give you the shortcuts of not making the little mistakes that I made, or not having the mentality that I had, which will basically shorten that gap between years 1 through 8. And you might have what I have in chapter 4, chapter 5, right? But I say shortcut, but this isn't a way to like give you a ticket to get to the next goal, to the next point in your life. But I think if you don't make the mistakes that I've made, or that can be actual decisions that I've made, or thought processes that I used to have, or the way that I used to think, if you just didn't have those negative parts of that time, I'm sure you would have grown more, right? And that's really what it comes down to. So fuck balance, push. I think as long as you can keep going, whether it sucks or not. I want to read this real quick. I wrote this down.
Dropping gems on us today, bro.
I wrote this down because they talked about how to go, how to progress in life, right? And so, where did it go? Right. So this was something that a prisoner of war stated about how he survived hard times. Being a prisoner of war, I've never been through it, but if you don't know, you're lucky enough that you don't know, okay? But a prisoner of war said this, and he basically talks about how he got through all the torture and all the, the beatings and whatnot, right? So this is the Stockdale paradox, okay? It says, you must maintain unwavering faith that you can and will prevail in the end, regardless of the difficulties, and at the same time have the discipline to confront the most brutal facts of your current reality. Crazy, right? So that what I mean by that is, like, no matter how hard it is, right? We talk about, I'm going to stay on the topic of balance, but regardless of how hard it is that you think, well, I want to give in here, whatever the case is, or especially when you're confronted with obstacles in business where you feel like you can't continue, if you have unwavering faith that you will prevail, you'll get it. But in the same time, you have to have the discipline to confront whatever's in front of you. And I think if you kept that attitude of no matter what, like we just went on this walk and I told you about like the recent rough time that I went through, it really came down to the point of like, do I close? Or how do I continue? And at that point is when I really believed, like, this is what I asked for. This is business. And here's the risk that I'm going to take now. Let's push it. And that faith that I had I believed, like, no matter what, I'm going to get it, which is why I didn't close. And I was like, let's pump. Right. But I also was able to confront how do I handle this? And we grew. Right. And again, if you talk about balance there, holy crap, I don't know how I would have balanced that. But it worked. And it was through this, and I read this recently. And it came from, again, someone who survived being a prisoner of war. They endured it all and went through it. And so that in this read, it basically talked about how this one prisoner of war taught more than any book could in how to prevail or how to push through in business or in life for the matter. And it's that.
That was deep.
Yeah.
That was intense. No balance. Nothing good comes with balance. Balance
will come. You'll earn your balance. Right? Like nobody works like a dog. Like nobody grinds like this just because. Right? There's something that's fulfilling about it. Whether it's the fulfillment of, okay, well, I crushed it day after day. I kept going, and that might be fulfilling, right? But again, that's not the majority. That's like very small group. That's the minority, right? When you have most people who do something hard, it's because there's a reward. So earn that. You have to come to. I'm not saying balance is not important, but it's not important when you start. You shouldn't even prioritize balance when you start. But what's going to happen is you're going to earn that balance that you're seeking. And I don't know when it's going to come for you, but the harder you work, the more you put in, it's going to come faster. And that's what I do it for. Like I want to be able to have the lifestyle that I want, the lifestyle that I'm fortunate enough to have right now. But I want more. And that's what it is.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Another day, another conversation, another life lesson for sure. Hopefully, these lessons stack up and hopefully they touch the lives of the people that need to be touched,
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you, brother.
I get it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.